The behavior of people abused by narcissists. They live like zombies and can be contagious. Ever contemplated the distinctive traits displayed by survivors of narcissistic abuse? Our aim is understanding rather than passing judgment as we unravel their coping mechanisms. Get ready for a captivating journey as we anticipate the revelation of this enigma. 1. Narcissistic abuse. Self-Attribution. Victims of narcissistic abuse often exhibit an excessive tendency to blame themselves. Narcissists skillfully make their victims feel responsible for the harm inflicted by distorting reality, frequently using tactics like gaslighting. Survivors internalize blame, falsely believing they are at fault even when they're not. This self-blame can induce emotional paralysis, hindering recovery and fostering feelings of guilt, shame, and diminished self-esteem. Breaking free from this recurring pattern starts with acknowledging that the narcissist, not the survivor, is to blame. Support from friends, family, and therapy proves invaluable in helping survivors regain self-worth and move forward. 2. Narcissistic abuse. Heightened anxiety. Survivors often display hypervigilance, a characteristic of those who have endured abusive relationships with narcissists. This involves maintaining constant vigilance in all relationships, searching for signs of manipulation or abuse. The trauma from such relationships, shattering their sense of security and confidence, underlies this behavior. It serves as a survival mechanism aimed at preventing further harm. At times, this hypervigilance can border on paranoia, with survivors excessively preoccupied with detecting potential dangers that may not even exist. Overcoming this state of heightened alertness poses a significant challenge in the journey to recovery, making support groups and therapy crucial in assisting survivors in regaining confidence and developing healthier approaches to navigating relationships. 3. Narcissistic abuse impact. Seeking approval. Survivors tend to adopt behaviors aimed at pleasing others excessively. Those who have emerged from narcissistic abuse often develop an unhealthy inclination to go to great lengths to please others. This behavior stems from an ingrained fear of confrontation and rejection. According to psychologist Abraham Maslow's theory, the need for approval arises from a lack of affection and a sense of belonging, both of which may have been absent during the abusive relationship. Additionally, the fear of rejection, as highlighted by psychologist Albert Ellis, plays a significant role. Survivors may harbor anxiety about potential rejection or criticism if they fail to consistently bring joy to others, mirroring the treatment they receive from the narcissist. While pleasing others can serve as an effective survival strategy, survivors must strike a balance between their own needs and those of others to avoid neglecting their well-being. 4. Narcissistic abuse impact. Social isolation. Survivors often become reclusive as a common response to narcissistic abuse. This isolation is frequently accompanied by the fear of being misunderstood or overlooked when individuals share their personal experiences. When survivors grapple with emotional exhaustion, self-blame, emotional bonds with the abuser, and this fear, they may withdraw from social circles as a protective measure. Moreover, a progressive decline in self-esteem may make them feel unfit for social connections. Isolation serves as both a coping and defense mechanism for survivors. Breaking this cycle of isolation is crucial for recovering from narcissistic abuse. Seeking support from therapists or engaging in support organizations is vital, as it allows survivors to establish connections with compassionate individuals who can provide the necessary validation and understanding. Dr. Ramanida Vasula, a psychologist, emphasizes the crucial role of building relationships with others in the recovery process. Narcissistic abuse, establishing boundaries. Survivors grapple with issues related to boundaries. Those who have survived narcissistic abuse often encounter difficulties with personal boundaries, manifesting in various ways. They might become overly defensive when someone approaches their boundaries or, conversely, allow others to overstep them. This behavior stems from the psychological impact of enduring a narcissistic relationship, as investigated by psychologists Dr. Judith Orloff and Dr. Christine Lewis de Canonville. Due to their acclimation to such treatment, survivors may permit boundary violations, or they may react angrily to perceived threats to their personal space if they have experienced boundary violations in the past. Hello, visitors. Interestingly, 80% of you have not yet subscribed at this time. If you are enjoying this informative video, please consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. Your support is highly valuable to us. Now, let's proceed, shall we? 6. Narcissistic abuse. Persistent self-doubt. Survivors grapple with persistent self-doubt. Ongoing self-doubt often emerges as a consequence of narcissistic abuse. Dr. Ramani Darvasula highlights that narcissists undermine the self-esteem and confidence of their victims through tactics like gaslighting and relentless criticism. To alleviate their self-doubt, survivors seek external validation and question their own judgment and reality. Pervasive uncertainty has the potential to hinder personal development and decision-making. Overcoming chronic self-doubt requires the support of groups and therapy. Dr. Judith Orloff advises survivors to regain confidence in their judgment and self-esteem. By cultivating self-compassion and surrounding oneself with validating individuals, it is possible to mitigate the detrimental effects of narcissistic abuse. 7. Narcissistic abuse. Compulsive apologizing leading to anxiety. Survivors often display a pattern of compulsive apologizing. Renowned experts argue that compulsive apologies serve as a defense mechanism among victims of narcissistic abuse. This behavior originates from the dynamics of abusive relationships, where targets habitually attribute blame to the narcissist for their own actions or emotions. This practice helps survivors avoid confrontations with the narcissist and maintain a fragile equilibrium. It is also linked to diminished self-esteem, as persistent criticism and manipulation undermine an individual's sense of worth. Breaking the cycle of compulsive contrition requires psychotherapy and a process of rebuilding self-esteem. 8. Narcissistic abuse. Idealizing new connections with a pretentious facade. In general, survivors tend to idealize new relationships. Following the exit from abusive partnerships with narcissists, individuals often hastily enter new ones, romanticizing their new partners. This phenomenon is commonly known as the rebound effect. Eager for happiness and validation, they hold their new companions to an ideal standard, creating unattainable expectations. Dr. Ramani Darvasula cautions that survivors may overlook potential issues in their rush to avoid red flags. 9. Abusive narcissism. Imposter syndrome. Victims grapple with imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a prevalent psychological phenomenon characterized by individuals experiencing self-doubt and a sense of deception, despite their abilities and credentials. Coined by psychologists Nurse, Susan Imes and Pauline Clance in 1978, the term emphasizes that it is often encountered by high achievers. Survivors of narcissistic abuse are particularly prone to developing imposter syndrome because the manipulative behavior of narcissists can induce self-doubt and internalization of negative messages. Dr. Valerie Young, a psychologist, asserts that imposter syndrome is a universal emotion, something nearly everyone has encountered at some point. It is crucial to remember that imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon and not a sign of incompetence. Overcoming it may require therapeutic techniques and strategies, making seeking support essential. You deserve acknowledgement for your achievements and confidence in your capabilities. 10. Narcissistic abuse, suppression of emotion and communication. Victims find it challenging to articulate their emotions. A commonly observed consequence of narcissistic abuse is the manifestation of emotional distress. Expressing feelings, even to one another, becomes a difficult task for survivors. This emotional repression develops as a coping mechanism during the abuse, aiming to shield themselves from the negative reactions of the narcissist. Dr. Ramani Durvasula explains that the dominant behavior displayed by narcissists may lead survivors to doubt their own emotions and intuition, resulting in emotional detachment. This difficulty in communicating emotions may have its roots in childhood. Dr. Jonas Webb introduced the term childhood emotional neglect to describe a similar issue, suggesting that emotional neglect during childhood, often observed in households led by narcissistic parents, could lead to enduring emotional challenges throughout one's life. In conclusion, it is essential to recognize that narcissistic abuse can significantly impact an individual's psychological and emotional well-being. If you or someone you know is exhibiting these behaviors after escaping an abusive relationship, seeking professional assistance and participating in support groups can be immensely beneficial. Remember that the recovery process from narcissistic abuse takes time, and it's okay to display unique behaviors along the way. Acknowledging these challenges, actively seeking help, and gradually working towards improved well-being and happiness are crucial steps. If you or a loved one is experiencing any of these behaviors, know that there is assistance and hope available on the path to recovery. What can we expect from an old narcissist? They will live with very painful karma. Allow me to extend a warm hello and welcome. In this video, our focus will be on exploring the dynamics of narcissists in their later years. Do they, in any way, recognize the unstoppable march of time? Simply put, is there room for growth in their personalities? I'm particularly intrigued by the prospect of their evolution and whether this change tends to be positive or negative. Equally crucial is understanding how their loved ones perceive and navigate relationships with them as they age. Given the complexity of human behavior and acknowledging that exceptions always exist, providing definitive answers to these questions is challenging. Nevertheless, let's delve into some common challenges faced by geriatric narcissists and explore potential solutions. It's important to note that narcissists often exhibit a strong sense of entitlement. Individuals in this category may display combative and egocentric traits, often manifesting as heightened sensitivity, defensiveness, and an inability to accept criticism. Those accustomed to positions of authority may engage in manipulative behaviors driven by a desire for increased control and power. As they age, some may find themselves distanced from previous companions and lovers, having neglected the effort required to maintain friendships and relationships in their younger years. Alternatively, others might have chosen to detach themselves from the narcissist for their own well-being. Similar to everyone else, narcissists can experience bouts of loneliness, leading to potential struggles with severe depression. Consequently, they may endeavor to form new connections or rekindle old ones by emphasizing their perceived positive qualities. I hope you find this exploration insightful and encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Remember, understanding the complexities of narcissistic behavior is a continuous journey. In their mid-30s, many narcissists undergo a period of denial. Some suffer from an exaggerated sense of vanity, believing they are far more attractive than reality dictates. The notion of losing their allure in the distant future is inconceivable to them. Even in middle age, numerous narcissists grapple with heightened sensitivity to their aging process. In attempts to counteract aging, some may accumulate debt-purchasing items like hair dye, new clothing, and anti-aging creams, striving to appear significantly younger than their actual age. Favoring younger companions or engaging in romantic relationships with them is not uncommon. Narcissistic mothers, upon reaching middle age, may endeavor to mirror their daughters, finding affirmation in being likened to their younger kin. In extreme cases, these parents may attempt to charm or seduce their daughters' partners. Conversely, a narcissistic father might expect royal treatment from his offspring, seeing himself as the family's leader or even its sole authority. Narcissists revel in boasting about their achievements relative to their peers. Additionally, narcissistic parents may seek to steal the spotlight from their children, subjecting them to rejection, criticism, or sabotage. Claiming credit for their children's independent accomplishments is a common behavior. When adult offspring of narcissists establish healthy boundaries with their partners, the narcissist may attempt to circumvent the issue by maintaining close contact with the grandchildren. Narcissistic grandparents might provide their grandchildren with mobile phones, fostering a direct line of communication. These children are often courted by the narcissist, receiving inappropriate gifts and attention that may clash with their parents' views. Criticism from the parents is frequently construed by the narcissist as evidence of the parents being inherently flawed individuals. In an attempt to prevent their children's marriages from failing and blaming themselves for interference, some parents may resort to completely undermining the ex-spouse, thus hindering any potential bond between the ex-spouse and their descendants. While many parents continue to support their own children post-divorce, there are instances where a parent extends this support to the ex-spouse, offering a listening ear, encouragement, and constructive suggestions for improvement. As narcissists age, their fragile sense of self-worth becomes increasingly challenging to uphold. The decline in physical abilities that once set them apart weakens them, diminishing their allure and complicating their efforts to maintain a facade, especially in matters of sexual desire. Contemplating their past achievements becomes a common pursuit, with a hope to gain favor by boasting about prior successes. It is disheartening for some to witness today's adolescents facing challenges in achieving success at a comparable rate to their predecessors, believing that the present generation has it easier. The necessity for progress was crucial for the success of the past generations. On the other hand, some individuals may resist evolution, retaining a surprisingly childish demeanor. Instances of temper outbursts as a means of protest when faced with denial of their requests are still prevalent. They may exhibit a noticeably irate disposition and may eventually express dissatisfaction with how society has treated them, lamenting about perceived unfairness. Conversations may revolve around failed partnerships, unsuccessful strategies, and the repercussions of poor decision-making. Feelings of resentment towards ex-partners, or those they deem responsible for their predicament, may linger. With more leisure time to dwell on their problems, bitterness and resentment may intensify. I have observed that narcissists tend to hold on to grudges for an extended period. Decades later, narcissistic wounds can remain as fresh and debilitating as the day they were inflicted. Narcissists have a remarkable ability to recall any wrongs done to them while attempting to dismiss instances of their own selfish and disagreeable behavior. Taking responsibility for their mistakes and feeling genuine remorse when confronted with them is a challenge for narcissists. Regardless of the harm they cause, or the number of people they exploit, they consistently perceive themselves as victims allowing destructive patterns to persist. When narcissists seek vengeance, they run the risk of alienating the few individuals who truly matter to them. The reasons for the manifestation of control and manipulation can be varied and may occur at any age. Loneliness or a lack of knowledge on how to seek assistance might drive them to manipulative behaviors. Rather than focusing solely on their own needs, narcissists should explore alternative ways to fulfill them. However, this may backfire if people find ways to stop assisting or politely decline invitations, leading to manipulative tactics involving remorse and humiliation. Egg, after everything I've done for you, my time is running out. It is crucial to acknowledge that some older narcissists may feel threatened by the emergence of younger generations. Perhaps their longer lifespans have given them insight into the intricacies of coercion and power dynamics. Additionally, covert narcissists often have a history of mysterious ailments. Despite consulting doctors extensively to date, the perpetual myth of traumatic events, such as a shattered cranium, a life-altering sports injury, or a bullet tearing through their brain. At this point, there seems to be little hope for their survival. To maintain a positive facade, aging narcissists may feel compelled to put on a smile in public, even if their presence doesn't genuinely excite their descendants. However, when engaging in activities they genuinely enjoy, they can often overcome health issues and swiftly recover. Nevertheless, decades of accumulating self-destructive rage are apparent in many elder narcissists. Although traces of arrogance may persist, the accumulated harm over the years has significantly eroded their confidence. As they age and their mobility decreases, they may reluctantly learn to depend on others for assistance, despite their challenging behavior. Limited social connections and options may compound their predicament. A potential narcissistic breakdown could occur at any moment, where they recognize their complete isolation with no one to turn to for help. Their deceitfulness and manipulations are laid bare, rendering them powerless. The absence of a vulnerable population to exploit may intensify their desperation. Considering your final question, let's explore how aging narcissists impact their closest relationships. It's natural for individuals to feel uneasy or confused witnessing the narcissist's decline with age. Those who have been abused may harbor resentment, yet they may also experience remorse for their actions. Unable to tolerate the narcissist's criticism, lies, demands, and lack of reciprocity, people may finally lose their patience. Despite this, some individuals may still feel sympathy for the narcissist, especially upon learning of their grave illness after years of no communication. In the later stages, the aging narcissist might surprise others with signs of improvement, having exhausted their reasons for dishonesty.